Hi guys, how are you? My name is Mateo. I'm the volunteer coordinator for Outfest 2019. I'm sure you guys have received emails or calls from me at this point. I wanted to make this quick little video for those of you that can't make it to the orientations, just so you have all the information that I've been giving out during those sessions. If you have any questions, I'd just like to say right off the top, please make sure to give me a call or shoot me an email. My email is Mateo, M-A-T-E-O, @outfest.net. A little bit about Outfest. So Outfest was founded in 1982. We have 4 programs, 2 seasonals and 2 year-rounds that I want to highlight for you guys. The first one being, of course, the film festival, which we're all taking part of as we speak, and the other seasonal one being Outfest Fusion, which is a showcase of filmmakers, queer filmmakers of color. And that takes place, I believe it's March and April, towards the beginning of the year. So that'll come around next year. And then 2 of our year-long programs are the Outfest Forward, which is a program that facilitates screenwriting labs and workshops for up-and-coming filmmakers, queer filmmakers, as well as the Outfest UCLA Legacy Project, which works to preserve and restore a lot of classic LGBT films. There are a few benefits to being an Outfest volunteer. Main among them being the fact that your volunteer hours accrue towards a membership in the organization, which typically are purchasable. So for example, if you work between 24 to 35 hours, that gives you access to a crew level membership, which is the kind of basic level membership. Typically that is on sale for $50, and it entitles you to invitations to a few events that we have throughout the year, as well as, like, I believe a couple of tickets to the main Outfest festival. After that is the Gaffer membership, which is 36 to 59 hours. And then 60 hours plus is assistant director level membership. And this will also be up on the website, on Shipboard, on the landing page, is the benefits package, and that'll kind of spell out to you what all the different packages entitle you to. I want you guys to take note that these hours go towards memberships for the following year, for the following calendar year, so not for this one. So for example, the crew member level membership is 24 hours. That's easily achievable in a couple days working the festival. Once you hit the 24 hours, that doesn't mean you automatically get your membership and you can start taking advantage of the membership right away. The way that it works is that the memberships are basically going to effect for the following calendar year. There's a new incentive program that I want to point out to you guys, especially to the returning members, because this is also both new and returning members, because this is something that we just started doing now. So basically the way that it works is that after 10 hours, you will be given an additional, kind of as an incentive, as a thank you, you'll be giving an additional 2 hours. So that means that for those first 10 hours, you actually will have worked 12 hours. Once you start hitting 5-hour increments after 10, you'll be giving an additional hour. So for example, to explain myself, if you work 10 to 14 hours, you will get 2 hours extra. If you work 15 to 19 hours, you would get 3 hours extra. So it's a great way to just start accruing a couple of extra hours. There is still the double hours for those of you that are returning members. We're still doing double hours according to venues, but this goes on top of that. And all of the extra hours they won't be reflected on the calendar. You will see them at the end of Fest once we calculate how many hours you've done, and we can add all those extra hours. So these are actually really just going towards that membership accruement that I was speaking about earlier. So volunteer departments and roles. Each department has a number of roles that you could be working. I want to break down some of you right now, just kind of fast, so you can get like a general understanding of them. So the first one is membership. That's one of the first departments that I have here. As you see, membership deals with our major sponsors and major donors. Responsibilities will basically include making sure that they have everything they need and guiding them around. You have to have a professional manner at all times, of course, because these are our major donors and the people who give a lot of money to put this event together. So we want to make sure that they have a very professional and kind of like optimal experience. The skill required for that, of course, are the knowledge of the membership program. So I would encourage people who know more about Outfest and how all the programs work and how the membership system works to be taking these roles, because those are the kind of things that you will have to know about. And obviously customer service skills and organizational skills are very important for that position as well. Another department is the production and operations department. Now this is the department that is tasked with setting up and breaking down all the events, all the screenings, as well as basically just making sure that the event in general, every part of it, whether it's parties, screenings, just one-off events, that everything is set up and things are moved to where they need to be now. This is the type of job that requires a lot of lifting and moving of things that are kind of heavy. So if that's something that you feel that you can't do, I would suggest not to sign up for these shifts. It's a very small team because, again, much like membership, they have their own team. They're kind of already, they've been doing this for years, and maybe not even here, but in other festivals. So they kind of have like a very tight team that already knows how to work amongst themselves. They'll just need like a hand or two or three or four every now and then to kind of set up the bigger events. The people who take the front desk are basically going to be helping me run the information desk. In order to take that position, I would hope that you would be familiar with our program, which is, by the way, already up on the website if you want to check it out. So familiarize yourself with the program. Customer service, friendliness are always very important because you're basically the face of the festival. But I would definitely put a special highlight on knowing the program, because we will get a lot of questions about films, about which one you like the most and why, and which one has this and which one has that, and this is kind of stuff we need to know. I will, of course, have a Bible with me at all times, not an actual Bible, but a festival Bible, which will have a lot of information about the festival. But the more that you can kind of recall without having to reference the book, the better. So that is the front desk. So there's also the hospitality department. The hospitality department is led by our hospitality coordinator, Gehea, who some of you have worked with before if you're a returning member. Hospitality pretty much liaises with the filmmaker. They basically act as a liaison between the filmmaker and the festival. And it's a place where they will go to pick up their packets that will have all their tickets, all their invites. They'll come to you for information when they need to find someone. So it's important. I think obviously customer service is really important, friendliness and cleanliness is really important, and you'll be kind of sitting for a long time. So if you're somebody that's kind of fidgety or needs to be standing for a certain amount of time, this may not be the right position for you, but it's a great position for those of you that have customer service experience before. I want to caution those of you that are filmmakers and are part of the industry. We discourage our volunteers and our staff from trying to network while they're working, simply because it's just not a good look to have our staff kind of trying to pitch their stuff while they're working, while someone's trying to get information that they need to go about their day. There'll be other opportunities, parties and whatnot, where I'm sure you'll be able to meet filmmakers. Box office is one of our bigger volunteer departments. They themselves, like some of the other departments, have a staff already in place, but they will every now and then need a few extra hands whenever their staff isn't available to help out as cashiers or as we also have scanning, which is part of the box office but works at the theater. And there will also be another position for people who will be directing traffic from the box office to the main theater, the TCL Sixplex. Fairly easy positions for a cashier. Obviously customer service experience with that kind of with sales is really important. And then there are the people who will be directing traffic. That's really standing there and kind of pointing people towards this escalator. If you have issues like knee issues and can't stand, you'll be standing for a while. If you can't stand for a while, I would kind of raise that raise that red flag if you're selected to do that kind of position. So you'll have two options with box office. You can select scanning. You'll see in the details on Shiftboard that it'll say scanning team, and that one will be working with at the theaters. And you'll see box office help, and those will be cashiers and the people directing traffic from the box office. So you just keep that in mind. Another department is the parties and reception department. So what you will be doing there is you'll be helping to set up and execute all the events and parties that we'll be having throughout the festival. I believe there's like about 12 or more. So we need plenty of hands on that. That is definitely one of our biggest departments, and we always need more people to help us, execute all these amazing events. So the theater department breaks down into the line control, which are the people who are kind of directing patrons and members to which lines they should be lining up in, and just making sure they have the correct tickets, or if they have a ticket, or if you want to stand in the standby line, and just keeping that in order. The ticket takers will be ripping the tickets as you walk in through the door of the screening, while the pass holders are being scanned. It's just a good way of keeping track. It's like a dual way of keeping track of that. We also have clickers at the door, which will be taking a head count as people are walking in. That helps us know right away how many people are in the theater as opposed to how many seats are available, so that if we do have seats available, we can go ahead and sell them rather to the people who are in the standby lines waiting for tickets to become available to that particular screening. And then we have the ballot takers at the end, who will be, as you exit the theater, will also be taking in ballots because all of our films are eligible for awards. I also forgot to mention the ushers are also part of this team. You'll have a group of ushers inside directing people to where to sit and and just kind of letting them know which areas are roped off for talent and whatnot. There are a few opportunities pre-fest, like I mentioned, with the membership department. There's some coming up in the next couple days with the hospitality department, and the box office department will also have some pre-fest shifts. Keep an eye out for those. They're not up as of now, but they might be up by the time you're watching this. And also parties and receptions, there'll be some more of those coming up later, so just for you to know that. Always keep checking on the website, you never know. We also have a social media and communications team. A couple of you have that from the orientations have reached out, letting me know that you have, photography skills or social media skills or editing skills. That's fantastic. Let me know, and I can put you in I can connect you to our communications manager, Andre, and he's always looking for people, so the more the better, because we want to be able to capture all these events on social media and on in pictures and whatnot. Outreach is something that we kind of all do here on staff as a matter of kind of just function, but we would hope that you will also take up the cause and just tweet anything that you see coming from Outfest official accounts, retweet, repost, invite, tag. Now we're gonna get to the good part of this, which is guidelines, aka code of conduct. Just a couple of things that I want to point out. First of all, let me start off by saying all this stuff is going to be available on the website, so you can always go over it. It's called Volunteer Guidelines, in parentheses, Code of Conduct, and you'll find that in the landing page of Shiftboard. If you read down at the bottom, you'll see that I have something highlighted that says these are important documents. So this is one of the documents you'll find there. It just kind of gives you these slides that you're seeing here next to me, basically in a PDF form for you to read. So, screening and ticketing policy. Let's say you are working and you want to see a film. So you're a line control person at a theater, and the film that you just loaded is one that you want to watch, and you're not going to get a chance to see it again. So you, in that kind of situation, you would have to ask your theater manager, and it is at the discretion of the theater manager to decide if they need you for the next screening, if they need you for the next load-in, if there are enough seats available. Whatever the case is, it is a theater manager's discretion to let you sit in that screening while you are working. And the reason I say while you're working is because if you're not on the clock, if you're basically a patron there, you came with your own ticket, then you're a patron. But if you are there working and you decide, oh, I may want to sit in on this, there's a possibility, like I said, at the theater manager's discretion. Just be aware that if it is, for example, a sold out screening and you got the last chair because somebody didn't show up, and then they show up and the theater manager decides to let them in, they will tap you out and say, we need to give this chair to the person with a ticket. Furthermore, if you are sitting through a screening, the theater manager will probably ask you to leave early. Just be aware of that, because we'll want you out of the theater before the theater starts loading out, because you might be helping with the loadout, you might be helping with something else. So just be aware that if you don't have a hard ticket, if you're sitting through a film because the theater manager let you, it's kind of their discretion when you need to get up and when you need to go. It might be through the middle of the film, it might be at the end, it might be just after you sat down. But I mean, I just want to give you the possibility that it could happen. Treat patrons and filmmakers and staff and sponsors and everyone with respect and with courtesy. That should go without saying. Don't speak negatively about any of the films. I stress this a lot in the presentation, simply because I've had encounters with this type of situation before. Be aware that when you're at a film festival, you don't know who you're around, and filmmakers and talent look just like the rest of us do. So you could be kind of giving your honest opinion about a film that you don't like, and then it turns out that the filmmaker has been listening to you, they're standing right behind you, and they're very offended. And here you are wearing your volunteer shirt or in your volunteer badge, and it just makes us all look bad. So in general, our rule is, if you're asked about a film, find at least one thing that you like, and that's the thing that you'll say. If you didn't like the film, keep it to yourself, or go home and tell your partner or your significant other or your cat, or you, like me, go tell your dog. But just no negative comments about any of the films or any of the filmmakers or any of the talent while we're at the festival or in the vicinity of the festival. I did have it happen one year to a coworker of mine, or rather to a volunteer of mine. They were at Starbucks around the corner from the theater, and they were talking very truthfully about a film, and the whole cast and crew were behind them at the line at Starbucks. So just because you're not in the theater at the moment doesn't mean let's let our tongues fly loose. If you're at Hollywood Highland in general, I would just avoid the whole conversation. Show up on time and dress appropriately. Of course, that goes without saying. One thing I need to say is no shorts allowed. I know that's problematic for some people, but the dress code is one volunteer shirt, which you will receive at your first shift. We typically recommend that you wear an undershirt, simply because we can only give you the one shirt, and you might have to be working 2 or 3 days, so you might back to back, so you might not have the time to clean them. Also, because if you decide your shift is done and I want to go watch a movie now, or my shift is done and I want to go to an event now, again, we don't want you to drink or eat with the shirt and the badges on. So if you bring an undershirt, you can always take it off and just enjoy the rest of your day like normal. Only closed toe shoes, no open toe shoes. That's just a safety concern, of course. At the beginning of every shift, if you're working at the Hollywood Highland complex, the first thing you do is you come and you check in with me. Otherwise, you will be checking in. If you're at a satellite venue, you'll be checking in with the person that will be overseeing you, and they'll have a list to check you in there. They'll also, if it's your first shift at a satellite venue, they will have the shirt and your badge there waiting for you as well. But if you're at TCL, all that stuff will be with me, the check-in will be with me, and the shirts and the badges will be with me, and then I will send you to your supervisor or to your department head. Stay through to the entirety of your shift. If you can't make your shift for whatever reason, please do let me know. It's not a big deal. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are kind of volunteering your time, so it's not like we can demand anything of you, but we do just kind of expect that you let us know, because at the end of the day, if you end up not showing up and we've already allocated you to a position, we need to shift stuff around, and it's easier to do it ahead of time than on the fly. Drinking policy. Again, no drinking at all at any events, at any screenings. If you have a shirt or a badge on. If you're an event or a screening and you're here as a patron, then I have nothing to say. Enjoy your night, basically is what I would say. Do keep in mind, we're still around though, so don't overdo it. Consequences for not meeting the guidelines that are put out in these beautiful slides is basically, one, you will be sent home for the day. If the issue persists, then you will be asked to not volunteer with us anymore, which would be a shame. It's a regrettable step and not something that we like to do or do lightly, but there have been occasions where it's been necessary. So please, let's all maintain decorum if you could. Keep in mind that there is no volunteer room, and I have a very small desk at the TCL, so there won't be a place for you to drop off belongings. So don't bring a huge bag with like change of clothes and stuff like that, because there's no way to put it down. Cultural sensitivity. So I'll be uploading something called the LGBT 101 onto that landing page on Shiftboard, and it basically just a list of terms that are kind of pertinent to our community and that we would like for you guys to become aware of and more comfortable using. We are part of a community in which there is a wide spectrum of gender identities and sexual identities, and we want to be respectful of everyone's gender and sexual identity. So we do stress that quite a bit. The way basically that we introduce ourselves here at Outfest is, hi, my name is Mateo, he, him, his. So that's kind of like the standard way that we'd like for all of you guys to communicate if possible. You'll see that a lot of us will be wearing pins that have preferred pronoun names, and it might not always be evident to you what a person's preferred pronoun is, and that's okay. The way that we kind of advise you guys to kind of take on that situation is just to say, introduce yourself first, give yours, and then say, I'm sorry, what's your name and what's your preferred pronoun? Just a polite way of making sure that you don't address somebody by something that might make them feel diminished. And finally, safety and emergency. Emergency protocol basically for fires, earthquakes, bomb threats, are basically the same as they are in many places. Just remain calm and look for nearest exit. In case of a fire, call 911. That kind of situation. For any situation that escalates to an emergency, please do seek out an Outfest staff member or senior volunteer, so a theater manager or even myself. I'll be, like I said, on the floor at the TCO main lobby. And you may be asked to help us fill out an incident report if it escalates to that point. For example, one thing I'd like to point out is if somebody falls, if we have a fall in one of the theaters, one of our main, I know for me, my main, my first impetus would be to kind of help that person up. I would kind of ask you to take a second and just kind of ask them, how are you doing? Are you okay? Before you try to pick them up, just because you don't know if that person broke something when they fell, and by you trying to help them up, it makes it worse. So kind of, take a step of caution when dealing with all this stuff. If you can easily get myself or another staff member around to come by, I would say that would be your first choice. Just because you don't want to be liable for any sort of injury or harm to anybody. Let us deal with that, basically, is what I'm saying. And if there is, for example, another situation that sadly we need to talk a lot more about these days, just because the days we live in, is active shooter situations. So in case of an active shooter, there are three kind of key things we recommend. The first one, of course, the first step would be try to get out. Find it at your nearest exit, try to get out of the building, and try to get some help from 911 if possible. That should be your first kind of impetus. If getting out is not something that you can do, if it's not feasible, then we would suggest number 2 be find somewhere to hide, somewhere with a closed door, somewhere where you can put a barricade between yourself and the shooter. Make sure to silence your cell phones. And just stay safe until you get word from local police, local law enforcement that it's safe to come out. Finally, if you can't run, if you can't hide, ultimately our last defense is self-defense. It's not an easy situation. It's not something I'm sure that is to be taken lightly, because you're putting your life on the line. But ultimately, if running and hiding isn't something you can do, hopefully a physical altercation might somehow stop the shooter. Who knows? It's a last-ditch effort kind of situation. If there are at any point you encounter somebody that's like belligerent or protesting, which is another feasible thing, or just in general upset and just wants to make a loud scene, just keep in mind that people who are upset, if they are screaming at you and you don't kind of give them the same type of energy back, if you remain calm and collected, they'll do one of two things. They'll either come down to meet you, your kind of speaking tone and whatnot, or they will simply disengage. That's typically the way that goes with people who are upset. If you don't yell back at them, if you don't get upset back with them, they either calm down or they disengage. You'll find online as well on that same landing page a couple of slides on the credentials for this year. Just to give you a quick kind of a quick introduction to it. There are like 12 different passes. There's only really one that gets you into the screenings without any tickets, and that's the yellow out pass. That one doesn't require tickets. That one you just get in the line with your pass, they scan it, and you're all good. That is the case for regular screenings. For closing night and opening night, everyone needs a ticket, including staff, volunteers, sponsors, everyone. So all this badge stuff is really only for regular screenings. Opening and closing night, everyone needs a ticket. Then the priority line will be industry passes and the priority passes, and that's the second line to be seated at the theater. Then the general line will have pretty much every other pass, people with tickets. Both the priority line and the general line, people should have tickets for those lines. You don't need tickets for the outpass line. And then you have that fourth line, which is the standby line, which would be the line where there are people waiting to buy tickets or waiting to see if seats open up for this particular screening. And those will go in last after they buy a ticket right there at the door. You'll notice when you get your badges, and you'll see in one of the slides that the badges in the back of the slide have a lot of information and basically tell you what they give access to. If you ever have any questions from any of the patrons, that's a good way to say, oh, let's have a look at the back of your pass, and then they'll turn it around, and then you'll see there that it says you need a ticket for this, or you cannot go into this, or you're only available to do this and this and that. So that's a good resource. I'll also be printing out a little kind of cheat sheet for you guys to look at with the badges and which line and all that stuff. This year we have a little bit of a change also with the FILMMAKER Lounge. In previous years, the FILMMAKER Lounge was at the GGA atrium, and it was open basically the whole festival for anyone to go in and buy a drink or a snack or whatnot. This year it's going to be handled a little differently because we're not at the GGA. We're at the TCL Multiplex. We have a space there, but it'll be a closed area. It won't be open to the public, and it'll be used from certain time to certain time. There'll be 2 people out front making sure that only certain people can go in. And basically it's any of the fellows, festival talent, filmmakers, or industry badges. Those are the only 4 badges that can get you in that door. Everybody else just does not have access. So Shiftboard, just as a troubleshoot, because a lot of people have been coming up with this concern, if you're signing on and you're not seeing anything, I would say the first thing you need to do is to check on the date. A lot of times when you sign in, including myself, it shoots you back to 2018 for some reason. And if you have any issues, if you don't see any shifts, please let me know, because you should see some by now. I think the only important thing really to know about Shiftboard is that you only really need to use the profile page and just fill your profile out. Please put a picture. That'll be helpful for us so we can get to know your face before you even get there. And also the calendar, because that's how you're going to sign up for the shifts. Those are the only two real pages that I think you guys should even visit. Oh, and the landing page, which is the one you land on, and then you can access that on the top where it says opportunities. You click that and it takes you back to that page. Those are really the three only pages you need, because like team, for example, I would prefer you guys not even touch that, because if you start clicking yourself off teams, you won't see shifts on the schedule. So just don't even touch the teams tab. It's really not that important. Like I said, just the profile, the schedule, and the landing page are all really that you should be looking at shifts. I also wanted to mention there's a Shiftboard app that you guys can use. It's very simple to use, and it also, I think, simpler almost on the website. And it's good to have, you know, on your phone in case you need to like constantly check your schedule. So that's a good, you can find it on the App Store. It's called Shiftboard. Finally, our volunteer appreciation party will be on July 29th, which is the day after the festival ends. So that'll be fantastic. And the location is TBD, to be determined. So I will keep you guys posted on that. We are not at DGA this year. Previous years, the DGA has been our main festival hub, but because of the renovations occurring at the moment, we've had to move, and this year we are moving to the TCL Six Flags, which is at the Hollywood Highland Complex. So not the main Chinese, Brahmin's Chinese Theater or whatever it's called now. It's the Multiplex, which is inside the Hollywood Highland Complex, so like to the left of the main Chinese theater. That's the same place where the box office will be. It won't be at TCL, it'll be at one of the shops at Hollywood Highland, but we'll have some signage and some people there to kind of direct everyone to where it'll be. Hospitality, membership, and box office will all be in the same place. So that's for you guys to know where those shifts will be taking place. And also, opening night is again at the Orpheum Theater, as it was in previous years. Closing night at the Ace Hotel, Theater at Ace Hotel. Instead of the Red Cat, we have another place downtown, the MOCA Grand, which is at the MOCA Museum, or Museum of Contemporary Art, in front of the Broad. We have Plaza de la Raza for in the East Hollywood side of town. We have Harmony Gold, which I think we've used in previous years. We have LAEMMLE Music Hall for a couple of days. We have AFI, Mark Goodman Theater for a day or two. The Ford also, which we've done in previous years, is coming back. Samuel GOLDWYN Theater at the Academy. A lot of the satellite venues, all of the satellite venues, of course with the exception of opening and closing night, will be doubled hours. So, and they're also longer shifts. Something also to note about satellite venues is that a lot of them, well, for most of the venues, we do not pay for parking for volunteers. Unfortunately, we don't have the capacity for that this year. So if you're working a lot of TCL shifts, I would say look into public transportation. You know, the red line gets off right at Hollywood Highland, like literally underneath there's a train station. So if you can take the subway, I think that's a good option. The best option, really. Otherwise, I believe parking is $15 per day. There is validation of the theater, but only for 2 hours. So if you're working 4 hours, you're only going to get half of the price of validation. Questions? Please feel free to reach out, and I look forward to meeting all of you at either at your first shift, or second, or third at the festival. See you there.